Welcome to Ideagen TV. Today, I am honored, I'm privileged, and I'm extremely enthusiastic for an interview with good friend, high performance coach, and author of Unstoppable Self-Confidence, Andrew Leedham. Andrew, welcome.
Well, it's great to be here, George.
Andrew, we've interviewed literally thousands of people on Ideagen TV, leaders like yourself, but there are not many that have risen to the level that you have in terms of helping individuals perform at their highest possible level, which is why I'm so excited about this interview. I'd like to ask you and lead right into the interviews. Would you kindly share for our global audience, the millions of people that will watch this interview, what was your journey like? What led you to where you are today? And perhaps, what are those pivotal moments that guided you towards focusing on self-confidence and mental health?
Yeah, thank you, George. It's a great question. What had happened was I'd long been in a place like many people where I knew I had a lot more in me, a lot more potential than I'd actually expressed. I felt kind of my life was not in a terrible place when I started this journey. It was actually kind of pretty good. I've been pretty successful in my career, but I always felt like I had a lot more within me and that I hadn't quite broken through to that sort of level that I knew I was capable of. I hadn't unleashed my potential. And I really started to look at what was behind that, what was stopping me from taking forward and expressing the talents that I intellectually knew I had, but wasn't necessarily kind of fully emotionally connecting with emotionally. And so I started kind of like a lot of people going a little bit on that self-help journey. And then what happened was about 6 or 7 years ago, that journey really transformed, accelerated for me. As like a number of people, I went through just a really, really difficult time. I found myself where my marriage was over. I was going through an extremely difficult divorce. And essentially, everything that I had built my life on was really falling apart very, very quickly. So I was no longer obviously married. I was no longer in that relationship. My role as a father was changing. Financially, I lost a great deal through the divorce. And so my whole sense of what made me who I was really falling apart, as I said, very quickly. And as a result of that, I found myself at a really low point. And I went on a real mission. I knew that I had to find a way through this very, very quickly. Otherwise, my life was going to go down a path that I didn't want. And through that journey, I went through a lot of learning. I met with a couple of amazing mentors who showed me a really incredible path by which anyone can transform their mindset and their confidence very, very quickly. And I always describe as I went through this journey how, after a few weeks really getting into this journey, from going from probably my lowest point, I felt like I was back to where I was previously. And within about a few months, I was feeling better than I ever had before, even though I was still going through this very, very difficult situation. And I realized I'd uncovered some secrets that were incredibly powerful. And as I got through my divorce, I had people coming up to me saying, "How are you so calm? How are you dealing with this?" Because they knew everything that I was going through. And I started sharing those same secrets with them, and they were seeing the same transformations as well. And off the back of that, I realized I'd really uncovered something really quite remarkable. I turned that into the book that I've now wrote. That did really well. And through that journey, as it gathered pace, I was in a place where I was able to build my business teaching, sharing these secrets to the point where I was getting way ahead of where I was in my corporate job. And so I left to do it full time. And so really over that journey, I just uncovered some very, very powerful secrets that help me realize how anyone can transform their mindset, unlock their potential, become the person that they want to be, and then use that to create the life they want to live, no matter where their life starts from when we start talking to them.
That's an incredible perspective, and certainly the journey is profound, and the ability to be able to comprehend where you were and where you wanted to go with your high performance coaching now that you've learned to share these secrets of. It's incredible. And so, looking back on your work and your career so far, how would you describe the evolution of your work and its impact, Andrew, on both your personal growth and perhaps even more importantly, on all of those that you've aimed to help?
Yeah, I think really the evolution in my own understanding was, as I uncovered these secrets, was that really that most self-development, whilst filled with lots of good information, really starts in the wrong place. That fundamentally most self-help, most self-development starts with this idea that there's something fundamentally wrong with you that you need to change in order to become one of those special, one of those amazing people. Whereas what I learned was that actually the opposite is true, that we are born naturally confident and successful, and that we get taught as we grow up a whole series of ways of thinking that limit us, that cause us to play small, that cause us to play down to a tiny fraction of our true potential. And so when you start to see that journey differently, you realize why people can change very, very fast, because now, and as a lot of people that I've worked with have expressed this same experience. In the past, every course, every book, every program that I took always made it feel like the ultimate destination was further away, because here's another thing that I've got to change. Here's another thing that I've got to change. Whereas when you see the truth, which is, no, you're already one of those people, you've just got to let go of those limiting beliefs, those programs, those ways of thinking that hold us back, then suddenly the journey feels very different. You're not changing away from who you are, you're reconnecting back to who you always were underneath this unhelpful programming. Now, when I share that with people, and there's a number of structured, detailed processes that we take people through to get there, suddenly their whole sense of who they are shifts. And so the real shift is recognizing that all of our behaviors, all the ways that we operate, flow directly from our sense of our own identity, our sense of who we are. So I always say you can't, we cannot create a level of confidence or success that's misaligned with who we understand ourselves to be. And so when we understand the truth that we're already one of those successful people, that's when people can change really quickly. And as I've shared that journey with people, that shift, that profound shift in that understanding, then you see them transform very, very quickly, as I said, no matter where they start from.
And so, Andrew, clearly you're changing lives. You've done so much and you're doing so much every day, literally to change the world, because by changing all of these lives, you're impacting the trajectory of individuals and everything and everyone surrounded by them. I'd love if you could, for our global audience, provide your career journey, those highlights and achievements, particularly those that paved the way for your involvement and leadership on the issue, which this is incredible. And you know the word, I love this word, unstoppable, for your involvement and leadership on unstoppable self-confidence.
Yeah, so my background prior to this journey was I used to work in lots of the big finance houses in London. And I'd had a good, successful career. I had teams of tens times up to almost like 100 people working for me, managing big budgets. And I'd really uncovered a lot of lessons about how you created high-performing teams through that. That was, I think, really the start of a lot of the lessons that I now teach, which is how do you both inspire confidence, in you as a leader, but also how do you, because I think this is crucial, how do you inspire confidence within the people themselves that are working with you? And the two things kind of go hand in hand, because I always say you can't really inspire confidence in yourself until you really know who you are, until you start to really express the best of you in those moments. And you do that with real authenticity, real integrity, but also through that that you're actually showing that leadership is not just towards the goal that you're taking people to, but actually allowing people to see that that goal is a way of them also expressing the talent within them. Because if they can see that you're leading with integrity and leading them with integrity, if they can see that by following you, by working with you, they can actually unleash their own talent, they can be part of something bigger, then you see people really unleash incredible gifts. I was always surprised when I was working with teams, just how much was there with people when you inspired the confidence within them. And so really getting into that psychology of how could you do that. And as I said, a lot of that was helping them connect with the truth about them, the truth about what they were capable of, giving them that confidence and that assurance that you would be there by their side as they were going on that journey. And you could start to see all these little light bulbs come on in people's minds as they did it. Now, when I've taken that experience from a sort of team leadership perspective and married it with what I learned on this journey to becoming unstoppable through the secrets that I now teach, I've now seen how people, whether it's on an entrepreneurial journey, whether that's as a team leader, whether that's just even as simple as the leadership in their family, they're bringing a profoundly different version of themselves. That calmness, that confidence, that grounded assurance that allows people that sense of they just want to follow you because they know you're taking them to somewhere amazing. And it's those two things together that I think really make the difference.
I'm often struck by certain comments, and to become speechless is something that I'm not used to, but it's awe-inspiring, Andrew, to hear about the impact and the journey. And so, speaking about unstoppable self-confidence itself, what exactly is at the core of the mission and objectives of the initiative? You've talked a little bit about it, but what's at the core of also transforming these individual lives?
When I discovered these secrets, George, I really realized, as I said, it's a line that many people say, but I really felt very profoundly. It goes from being something that you can do to something that you feel like you have a responsibility to do. When I saw how not only how I transform, but just as I share these secrets with other people, how they transform so massively, I really recognize the responsibility to do that. So at the heart of the mission with Unstoppable is we want to change the world one mind at a time, one person at a time. Because as you mentioned earlier, each person that we impact, each person that we change, the change doesn't stop there. That if each person then becomes a better father, a better partner, a better husband, a better wife, a better sister, a better leader, a better friend, that creates those positive ripples of change to all those around them. That if each of those people becomes just a level more of a light in the world, then actually all of those kind of pulses of light start to sort of spread out, and you can start to really shift the way that things are operating. And what I'm really trying to get or help people connect with is the fact that rather than looking for the world out there to change, that the journey is about each of us changing within ourselves. Because as we do that, we have an immediate impact on our own experience in our lives. We have a fairly profound impact on the experience of our families and our friends and the people we come into contact with. And if you do that as a leader, by you being that best version of you, you have a really tremendous impact on those around you. You don't just become a better leader, but done right, you become that point of inspiration. You end up lifting up the others around you. The question that I ask all the people that I work with to live by is, in every moment, ask yourself the simple question of, what would the best version of me do now?
What would the best version of me be and do now? That's incredible, Andrew. Thank you for asking that and answering that. It's incredible perspective. And so I'd like to pivot to asking you, what inspired you to create Unstoppable Self-Confidence? And what was the gap, that critical gap that you saw in the market and in society that unstoppable self-confidence fills?
The big gap that I saw was that I saw a lot of people, and I'd experienced this myself, who'd taken a lot of journey, done a lot of work, and had either not really got the breakthroughs that they want, or just as frequently got these breakthroughs for a short period of time and then ended up sort of drifting back to where they were. I describe it as this bungee cord effect, where people try really hard, they do make some progress, and then they slip back to where they were again. And the reason for that, and this is as I said, the thing that I think lies at the difference with Unstoppable, is that I learned that you have to deal with these challenges at the level of identity, not at the level of behavior. And so if you want those changes to last, you have to shift your sense, your perception of your own identity. We cannot outperform consistently our sense of who we are. And so the gap, the change is, we show people what I would always suggest is the truth about them, that who each of us really is the version of us that we daydream about being, us at our highest aspiration. And the only thing that ever stops us from experiencing that is the negative narratives, the negative stories that we have in our mind, and the negative voice, what most people call the inner critic, that says all of those unhelpful, sabotaging things to us. Now, when you see that the truth about you is that you are that best version of you, now, rather than having to learn all these lots of different techniques and try and keep them in your head, it naturally flows and becomes your default state because it flows from your identity. And that shift is where I think the gap in the market, the gap in the knowledge base really was. Because when you get people to that place, as I said, that's when they can transform out of all recognition very, very fast.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal insights. Thank you for sharing those. And so we move now to key strategies. What are the key strategies within the programs of Unstoppable Self-Confidence that help to build and nurture this incredible, powerful self-confidence in individuals?
There's sort of 3 or 4 key steps. The first one is that most people have some kind of overarching narrative that holds them back, an untrue story. And nearly always it involves some form of connecting their value and their identity to something external, whether that is success, whether that's money, whether that's their looks, whether that's a relationship, whether that's achievement in some way. It creates this sense of what I call conditional confidence as opposed to core confidence. I am okay and I am enough only when these conditions are met. And the problem with that then is that rather than just dealing with the opportunities or the challenges or the circumstances in front of us just for what they are, unconsciously we end up grappling with this underlying idea that says, but if I get this wrong, if these circumstances change, then I'm not okay, then I'm not enough. And so people sort of hold themselves back in some way as they're trying to protect themselves from that fear and that change. Now, what we do, first of all, is we show people why those stories are untrue, why they were never true, why they're effectively the adult equivalent of monsters under the bed. So the question I always ask people is, take that story. Let's say someone has tied their value to success in some way, success in a particular endeavor. I always say, would you ever walk up to a beautiful young child of say 4 or 5 and say to that young child, you're only okay if you're successful. You're only lovable. You're only good enough. You're only valuable if you achieve that success. And if you don't, then I want you to understand that you're simply not good enough, that you're not valuable, and that you're not lovable. Now, people nearly always smile when I say that to them because they start to see the absurdity of the story that they're living by. And then the question becomes, well, if you couldn't go and say that to a beautiful young child right now, can you continue to live in that lie yourself? And then you can start to really get rid of that story, of that narrative, as we go through the program. The second part is really learning to deal with the inner critic, that negative voice in your head. There are some very, very powerful techniques that we share with people where we show you how to calm your mind and control your thoughts no matter what, so that you are able to think thoughts that help you on purpose rather than thoughts that sabotage you by accident. Because the foundation stone for success is having the ability to direct your thoughts, think thoughts that help you rather than thoughts that sabotage you. And so off the back of that, you can create as your natural default state that calm, relaxed, confident mind. The third part then is helping people reconnect with that true identity, that best version of them that we described earlier on, so that all of that becomes that natural default state. And then we finally the final part of it is giving them some real powerful structured thinking techniques, so that no matter what challenge or situation they face in the future, they are already thinking in ways that make them powerful and enabled, not sabotaged and back on their heels as a result of that.
Incredible. And what an analogy that you cite with respect to how you would address a child and what you would ask them, and then sort of the premise of what you are as an adult in your career and what you define as quote unquote successful, which I think we all get lost in as we enter a career, and even later stages of your career. It's keeping that perspective and ultimately reaching that unstoppable self-confidence.
For sure.
And so, Andrew, reflecting on the impact, clearly you're having a global impact with unstoppable self-confidence. Would you be willing to share a success story, or even a particular case where the initiative, the impact of this unstoppable self-confidence programming made a significant difference in someone's life?
Yeah, I had a wonderful client who was a very, very high-powered corporate executive who was facing a situation where the company he worked for was going through a merger with another company. And it was, the business that he'd in many ways built his identity around, the role was falling away. And so when he came to see me, he was in a very difficult position, because he was saying, well, I've worked all my life for this. This is who I am. My work has been my life. I'm walking in and I introduced myself as effectively as my role title. And so we went through that journey that I described in my last answer to really help him unpick that. Now, what was profound was that off the back of that, he transformed not only personally, but professionally. And what I mean by that is he started to become free of that story, of that narrative that made him feel like he was only truly valuable if he was this super successful executive. And he started to connect with his real purpose, the thing that he really wanted to do, which is helping a lot of people in a particular area of their life. And as a result of that, he actually ended up voluntarily leaving that role, that job. He started his business, and he himself is now having a profound impact helping people. And not only is he happier personally, he's fed back to me just the difference it's made to his marriage, to his relationship with his children, to how present he is. But he also lets me know just the wonderful impact that he now himself, through being unleashed, is having on hundreds and thousands of people himself through his own journey, his own business, by finding his life purpose. And because that fear of not being quote unquote successful has fallen away, he's actually experiencing far greater success in that new business than he ever did before. So not only has he been set free, but his personal life is better, his financial life is better, his relationship with himself has transformed. And he just said, I just now know I'm okay no matter what.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's profound. And sharing these types of insights, I think, help our global audience at Ideagen TV sort of understand um, from a very unique vantage point what it is and how it is that you're changing people's lives and creating high performance individuals.
Mm.
And so, aside from all of your incredible work with unstoppable self confidence, I mean, it's the word that comes to mind over and over is profound. Aside from all of that, what other projects or initiatives, because I know there are some, are you passionate about beyond all of this incredible work?
Yeah, the other area that I'm really starting to focus on, because I think it's so critical at the moment, is really helping people succeed, particularly in their personal relationships. Uh, Obviously, as I went through a divorce, I went through a lot of wanting to understand, why had things gone wrong? What could I learn? How could I become better off the back of that? And it's one of the things that people will often come to me to discuss, because they want to be, not just better for themselves, better in their work, but better at home. There's a real recognition, I think, at the moment, where people want to be that better person in their family life. And as we're really starting to apply those lessons to specifically relationships and families, we're seeing people come back with this profound sense of reconnection, even if that's been broken in the past. There have been, a number of marriages where I've been talking to people and those have been healed. There's been a number of times where people have reconnected with parents or siblings that they've been estranged from for many years. And it all flows back from that simple sense of, what would the best version of me do now? And that freedom from saying, rather than me being hurt because I've connected my identity to a particular outcome, I now recognize that my responsibility, the right way to operate, the way that makes me feel good and actually helps everyone around me, is I walk into my partner, my children, my parents, my siblings, bringing the best of me no matter what, because I do it because it expresses the best of who I am, not because of anything that I get back in return. And so now those relationships become relationships of contribution, going to give, not through going to get. And so those relationships become stronger, deeper, more loving, and more powerful. And we're seeing some really, really wonderful results off the back of that, which is incredibly heartening.
Well, Andrew, I would not expect, my friend, anything less from you. Changing the world, as you know, is not easy. It's not an easy task. But as I'm reminded often, one individual can change the world because it starts at the top, and you're leading the way with unstoppable self confidence. Andrew, how can our global audience find out more about all of the incredible work you're doing with unstoppable self confidence? Where would you point them to?
Yeah, there's two kind of clear routes that I would point people to. The first one is, I have my book on Amazon, so you can just go to Amazon and type in "Unstoppable Self Confidence" or my name, Andrew Leedham, and you'll find my book. And there's everything that you need to get started in there, and there's all the ways that you can contact me should you choose to, in the book as well. Separately, and I think the link's going to be made available, I also have an introductory program, which I call my 7-day confidence masterclass, which takes you through the kind of key steps in nice bite-sized chunks over a 7-day process. And the link for that, like I said, I think is going to be made available as well. Through that, there's lots of easy ways to contact me if it's something that anyone would like some further help with. So those are the two ways that I'd point to.
Andrew Leedham, high performance coach, author, leader, inspirational impact leader. You are changing the world, my friend. I highly encourage everyone watching this program to take a look at the incredible, life-changing, game-changing work that you are doing to change the world. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, George. It's been great talking to you.
Inspiring.